Hey, I'm Michael Dorinda.
And I'm Jake Bennett.
And welcome to episode 184 of the North Meets South Web Podcast.
Hello, friends. How is everybody? It's been 2 weeks. Can you believe it? I can't. Seems like it's been not that long. So we are going to get into it right off the top because, as I was telling Michael, I was like, I've already been asleep almost already, pretty much. We talked a little bit last time about RetroPie arcade 1-up stuff. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Dave,
it was funny
Dave was telling me. Yeah, because tell me what your adventures have been like since then.
I messaged you like 2 days later as I walked in, and we've got this chain in Australia called Smoke Mart, and they sell cigarettes, as the name would imply.
Okay, as you would guess,
and other smoking paraphernalia, but they also sell all kinds of like random gifts, for people that you would think. And in the front window, they had the Mortal Kombat cabinet. So it was not enough that they had in there on display the thing that we like talking about in general. We specifically talked about the Mortal Kombat cabinet, which they then had in the in the front window there. So, and they've got these like little mini ones as well. Like they're about 5 inches tall. These little.
Oh, really? I think I've seen these. Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet you could hack those things
very
too.
Very interesting, considering that I'm looking for gift ideas for Laracon AU this year.
Oh, that's a cool one. Yeah. I mean, the only trick with those is like nobody can take that home. Well, the 5-inch one they could take home, right? But like the actual cabinet, nobody could take the actual cabinet home, of course. And we do giveaways like that, like conferences that we go to, big ones, and then we just ship them to them.
Yeah.
We take them to the conference and then we just ship them to the people. Yeah.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah,
that works pretty well.
It's certainly an interesting thing because I had some ideas. We've got the quiz night that we're doing this year, which we've sold out, and I was thinking of gift ideas, and I thought, well, you don't want to overcommit to something like that because it's not, it's a first in best dress thing. Not everyone's going, and so on. So I thought, movie vouchers would be good, but if you happen to be someone that's traveling internationally and you happen to be on the winning team, and then you win some movie vouchers, they're not much good to you. So I thought, something like that would be better because it's the kind of thing that is, it's on theme for this year's event, but it's also small enough that, if you're packing in your luggage, it's not going to take up heaps of space, which is also the thing because we have like a bit of a gag gift on the second day of the conference after we have our bowling night. We get like an old pin, damaged pins, and if you get the lowest score, you get one of these damaged pins, but they're not terribly practical. Most people will leave them in a rubbish bin somewhere.
Yeah, it's hard to get those. Yeah, they're heavy. They're heavy too. You wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
But they are surprisingly heavy. Okay, so 2 things on that front that are not having anything to do with code, but duckpin bowling. Have we talked about duckpin bowling before?
Duckpin bowling. I don't recall.
You have to check it out. It's basically they're string set pins. So think about like the normal pins that you have, they get knocked down and then they get fed into a thing in the very back, and then they kind of like go into this pin setter, and then the pin setter kind of collects them and then sets them all down and whatever. Right? So different pins every time. You know what I mean? It's which is why you have like a broken pin or whatever. Well, with string set pins, basically the way that it works is every single pin has a string attached to the top of it. Okay. And so what it does is all the strings get pulled up to the same time, and then they get pulled up into like a form. So it's like that, and it sets them up like that. And then the pins slowly lower down and set on the table, but they still have the string attached to the top of them, right? So when you knock them down, it knows which ones have been knocked down, and it just keeps those up in the form. And so it resets much faster, but the pins themselves are smaller and they're further apart. And the lane is only like 10 feet long. So it's like a really, really small lane. And the balls are only about this big. Really fun game for kids. Because it's very approachable. There's no gutters. It's like literally, it's right there. I can see it's right there. Like, so everybody can hit the pins every time, but it's impossibly hard. Not impossibly hard, but much more difficult to get strikes in duck pin bowling than it is in regular bowling because the pins are further apart and they're smaller. So it's like, it's a really fun game to play. It's like putt-putt instead of golf. Like if you were going to take some kids out to go golfing, be like, oh, they can't golf, but
Yeah.
anybody can putt, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of fun. Duckpin bowling. So that was one thing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
school
that's a fun
holidays
one.
at the moment. So I took the kids. They've been begging to go bowling. So we took
Yeah.
them
Oh yeah.
bowling yesterday. And Eli's okay. Like he's big enough now where he can bowl the largest ball down that lane, no problem. Liv is still a bit small, so she's carrying this ball, both hands, and I keep trying to tell her like, yeah, use both hands, but underarm kind of thrust it down the lane, but
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
will just throw it at the ground, and so but it's not going very fast when it gets to the end. So, but they were
That's
both
funny.
yesterday, bowling in their own way. They finished within 2 points of each other, which was good because Liv
That
doesn't
is.
really care, and we've been playing all kinds of different board games and card games, and I introduced him to Yahtzee, and
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a classic.
we had 3 tantrums in the space of 2 games playing Yahtzee.
Wow.
So we decided
You'll
that
have
is
that.
not a game we'll play
Yahtzee's a
before
tough
bed.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I said
Yahtzee's a tough one.
he's very much a skills-based child. Like he will try and figure out how to do something, and then he will apply himself until he's maths, reading, soccer, like all of these things, video games. If he figures it out, he can do it, and then he can become good at it. Whereas Yahtzee is entirely a game of skill, entirely a game of luck. So if you don't get what you're after, like that's frustrating for him. So it's Rhea and I just play over dinner. We'll be sitting eating dinner and we'll just play Yahtzee.
Yeah, and just throwing dice. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun thing to do. Yeah. I like Yahtzee. It's a fun game. I used to have it on my phone, or I had actually. It's crazy. I had one of those ones that before you had like dedicated apps on phones and things like that. It was literally like this little screen, and all it had was the dice on it, and then you could select the dice. It was like, I don't know, Hasbro or something, back in the day. I don't know, just one of these little crazy things. It's wild to show my kids those these days, and they're like, "What is that? Is that a game?
Yeah.
How's it a game?" Which, speaking of that, this is maybe a pivot point a little bit. I was reading this article the other day, which was cool, and it was talking about how like there's no such thing as like industrial design or like hardware design anymore. Everything that's designed is just a screen. It's just a chocolate bar size, glass plate. That's it. Everything that you have is designed on that screen, but there's no tactile sort of stuff. And so they were basically like hearkening back to the Sony Walkman days, where everything was, all the hardware was the really interesting part of the device. There was no software really. It was all analog. Yeah. And so it's interesting to kind of see how things are kind of, not all things, but like there is some desire for some of those things, right? So I'm trying to remember the name of these. There's some of these different audio devices, like electronic music makers. And I'm trying to remember what the name of the manufacturer of them is, but they're all actual physical buttons. You know what I mean? It's like you could do GarageBand on your phone, like, and that's fine. But like these are all physical designed buttons and like hardware interfaces, and people are very attracted to that. And I think there is something about that, like the rise of physical media, even like record players coming back. You know what I mean? Owning the record. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's just this desire that we have to like, everything is so ephemeral and amorphous, and like I don't actually own anything. It's just in the cloud. It's like people want to hold on to something. Like I need, this is something that I have. It's like my thing. And so
coming to terms with the fact that when you buy something, you don't really own it. Like we had Taylor Swift's new album came out the other day, and I saw there was footage from some record store in interstate where people were lined up, out the store and around the corner to pick up a physical copy of the CD, the record, whatever. Because I think Taylor releases all of her albums on vinyl. So
yeah, she does. Yep, we have a couple of them. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know how that necessarily applies, other than to say that I feel like I've been feeling that recently, and so we're embracing a bit of that whole old school sort of analog thing at a conference we have coming up. We bought a Keychron keyboard that's just a really odd looking. It's like a 60% maybe. It's got no numbers on it. It's got no symbols on it. It's just the keys and like a split space bar, and like there's not even a backspace on this thing. And we're doing a typing test. Like we're doing like just a fun typing test. And then I was like, oh, they're gonna need a mouse. And so we bought off of Etsy, this guy 3D prints the most retro looking mouse you've ever seen. But basically what he does is he takes some Logitech MX185 and just guts the thing and puts it into a 3D printed case. It's super cool. Dude, I'll have to send you a link. It is awesome looking. It looks straight out of like an 80s hacker movie. It's hilarious, but it's wireless. Great. So it's really, really fun. But I don't know. I've been feeling that recently. Just that idea of wanting to actually have like the physical things. I mean, I think that's part of the thing with like mechanical keyboards too, like the individuality that you can express by like having your own keycaps and like your own knobs and switches, and you can program it. And I don't know. I love that stuff. It's super fun right now.
Yeah, we definitely have been trying, especially around dinner time, because there's like this twilight zone between like when it's time to turn the TV off and the iPads off and things like that, and then dinner. And the kids still don't really eat what we eat. They're still, we'll have dinner and they'll have cereal or they'll have toast. And so they sit at their own little table, and they have been sitting and watching TV. It's like you can't have the iPad, but like the TV, it's not, in your face kind of thing. And
it's like a shared screen, right? It's like you have to agree on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've been doing that, but the last month or so we've bought Uno cards. We bought this other game, which is a lot of fun, called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love that one.
Which has been a lot of fun. Potentially some cheating on some of the younger members' side of the like putting the card down and looking at it and then putting it down and then snapping straight away. It's like, that's okay, we've been doing that. We got Yahtzee, we got Go Fish is the classic. We looked at a couple of other ones, like just those kinds of things.
You said Uno. Uno's a very good one. Uno's like easy.
Liv will get into it. She usually gets bored halfway through her hand in Uno, but she'll play a little bit. But it's just fun watching Eli kind of figure out the way to play the game and how to kind of transition between colors and things like that. And he loves a draw four.
It's hilarious. He's got to play it on
giving it
dad,
out more than he loves receiving it, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's like any opportunity, which is great because he enjoys it, and like I enjoy spending the time with him to play it because it means that he's not on a screen. And it's good because he'll do that before school. He's like, Dad, can we play before it's time to go? He'll do it, after dinner, before bed. Like he wants to play Uno, which is good. So it's nice to be able to do something that is off. And now, it's daylight savings now, so we've got more sun into the evening. So we're out there kicking the ball around. We've signed him up. We'll put the registration in. We're waiting to hear back for the local soccer club for him to play club soccer because we feel like, he's probably at a stage where we should nurture this aspect of it. If we can get him into sport and he's like he's into it, he's picked this himself. There's been no influence to do it. It's like, okay, well, let's nurture it and see where this goes kind of thing. So, and that'll get him involved. And unfortunately, the club soccer games are played on Sundays and the school sport is on Saturday. So he will be able to dual wield them, which I think will be good for his development up until a point where he's going to have to choose one or the other, of course. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's really fun. Like when they get to start choosing their own activities and kind of things that they would like to pursue. No, I think that's a great idea. Soccer is such a great sport too. It's really active, lots of running and all that good stuff. And honestly, the thing about with soccer too is I know my oldest likes it because it's very physical. Like basketball, there's a limit. There's a pretty hard limit on like what you can do physically. Like you can you can play rough, you can play hard. But I mean, they're not going to let you do that for too long before they start calling stuff. You know what I mean? Soccer, you can get away with quite a bit. Like there's a lot, especially high school soccer.
So big, and you can be, behind the play, outside of the play. It's
and depending on how hard how tight they're calling the game. Like sometimes they will let you play. Like they will, if you're going for the ball, boy, you can really lay a hurting on somebody, and they're not going to call it. And so I think we've always told him he can't play football, like American football. And I think he sort of resents that a little bit in the sense that he's just he's like strong kid, and he just wants to like exert his physical. He wants to hit people, right? Exactly. And so
it is funny though, because I've always had it in my mind that soccer's always been a bit of a an acting sport. You know, you fall over and you writhe around.
It is, but
like
I think
it
that,
is,
yeah.
and you see it. Like we watched the Australia Cup final on the weekend, and there's like a bit of it. There was one player that like every time he got touched, he kind of flew through the air, and it was like, okay, but it's like it's not as common. And sometimes you look at it and you see, you know, someone goes like people get knocked over, especially when you slide and you make contact with the legs. Like people will get hurt that way. But sometimes they certainly do embellish. But not it's not like when you watch highlights, like all you see is the embellishment. Whereas in a game of, you know, across the span of, I think they went into overtime, so it was 120 minutes of game time. It's certainly not as common as I had thought it was, and like it was enjoyable. It is a slog. It is a lot of sitting around waiting for something to happen, but it is impressive. And you know, everyone who's followed soccer their entire lives is like, yes, it is. And where have you been, kind of thing. And I was just never into it, but you know,
yeah, I agree.
As far as things go, it's like not the worst thing in the world. It's certainly not as bad as I thought it was.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I know. And I think the one thing is like you see, you know, in those highlight clips, you only ever see the most egregious examples, but they're also always in slow-mo, which if you watch them at normal speed, it doesn't seem nearly as egregious. Like it's like, okay, well, it was like bang, bang, like it happened and then they sort of fell. But also it is strategic in that sometimes you have to sell it in order to get the call. Like if they didn't see it and you don't basically do something to draw attention to the fact that you were just taken out, you're not going to get the call. So like, I do get it. There is strategy to it. The best players don't flop on every call, but they will on occasion sort of like sell the call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get that. Like it's just part of the game.
It's just part of the sport now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that we're halfway through what we would call our normal recording time, let's talk a bit about computers. And I floated to you, and shout out to Mitch who's listening to this, and this is the first he's hearing about this when he does hear this episode. I put my hand up to do some work on the dashboard, or sort of the admin side of the app that we use for Laracon this year, just to kind of because I know what I need to be able to see to run the event from an organizer perspective. So when I go into the dashboard that hasn't been built yet, I know that I need to be able to configure an event and add days in and add sessions in and attendees and all that. So I know roughly what I need to put in there. And so he'd not actually started building this out in any great detail. And I said, hey, do you want a hand? And he said, sure. And so I've been poking around in there, and it's a Vue app. It's using the viewport of shadcn. And I feel like, and we're using Inertia. I feel that this is needlessly difficult. And I don't know if this is because I haven't touched Vue since version 0.9. Or if this is just what the JavaScript world has come to accept as the way of doing things. And so, you know, we've got a page which shows an overview of the event, and it's got 4 sections effectively. It's got the event days, it's got the event sessions, it's got the something else, and then it's got a list of attendees. And so each of these things are their own
4 up panels, all in sort of like their own little thing. And this is just the admin side of things, you said, yeah?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yep. So there's like the event page, and then it's got the day component, the session component, the whatever that bottom one is that I forget, and then the attendee component. So they're all split out.
Which, maybe the speakers?
Yeah, possibly. Not important, mind you. So they're all split out into their own components. And then what I was working on was like creating the days. So this is done in a modal at the moment. So you click add day and it pops up a modal which asks for a label and a date. And you put that in and it creates it. And then that refreshes, like we do a refresh, we return from the Inertia thing that says, okay, it's done. Now, this may be a limit in my understanding, which is entirely possible because it's been a very long time since I've done any of this stuff. Inertia seems to me to make lots of sense when you have a form on a page and you do something, it submits to the server, it refreshes. And really, like we're using JavaScript for the front end, but we are still effectively, and this is the promise of Inertia, it's as though you are still doing, you know, server-side blade
Yeah.
and whatever, but you're using Vue. So
Yeah.
you have your thing, it then processes it on the server, it sends back a redirect, and it quote unquote refreshes the page, or it swaps out the content of what's changed.
Sure.
That works fine.
Yeah.
Now, when I would do this in a traditional Blade application, I would have a form that I would reuse, right? So whether I'm creating or I'm editing, the form is the same.
Yeah.
And then on edit, I would pass in the entity that is being edited. So I would say like, square bracket x dash edit form, whatever it's called, and then I go colon day equals, and then pass it the day object. And then that's then there, and then it pre-fills all
it's
the fields.
It's going to populate. Yep, exactly.
And it populates, and then you edit it, and it updates the form endpoint and whatever. Now, in my mind, conceptually, this is exactly the same in Vue. And because I haven't done it in a long time, and because everyone says AI is the right thing, like I'm planning out with Claude, okay, what is the appropriate modern, like Vue 3 way of doing this? And it goes, oh yeah, you can you reuse this, no problem. You create your form, you shove it over here. And then so you've got the template, which is the actual view, the VIEW view. And then you've got the thing that processes it, which is like in this TS file, and it's called like use event day form, and it exports a function.
So the use event day form is a TypeScript, it's a .ts that exports a form that you then utilize. You render it as a component inside of that page. So you just bracket and then the name of the component, and then it's auto-loaded. Okay. Yeah.
So the idea, as far as I can tell for this, is that this then encapsulates using Inertia's use form. We define an interface for the day, so that we know that the day object that's passed in has got a label, it's got a date, and we know whether or not we're editing an existing one or if this is a new one.
Okay.
And then this handles, do we go to the store endpoint or to the update endpoint? It does all this kind of stuff, and then it returns the form. So it just, I don't know if Claude is leading me astray because I don't know enough about it. And I thought I could just skip reading the docs and go straight to having the robots build it for me.
For sure. Because it seems like a common enough use case that this has been built a million times, right? So it should have enough information.
My assumption is that yes, Claude would know based on the body of everything that it has ingested that this would be, it directed me here. I just said, what would be the way to do this? And it said, you should create this thing. And I looked, and it said you should put it in a composables directory, and I looked, and there was a composables directory already there, and it had some stuff in it, and so it looked like it, but it just feels heavy. It feels complicated. And when, as I said, if you've got 4 components on the page and they've each got their own little create modal that is also doubling as an edit modal, depending on if you click add day or edit day from the list of days.
Yeah, from the table,
So now I'm doing this 4 times. So I've got to use event day thing, I've got to use an event session thing, I've got to use event, like all these things. It just feels heavy. And so, I know that you have done more Vue more recently than I have, even though you do a lot more Livewire, which is certainly what my preference was. But I thought, this is what's there. It's an opportunity to kind of try it out and see what it is. But it's early enough in the project that I could, hello Mitch, I could just write it all in Livewire and send a pull request and say, here you go, it's all done. But I want to know from your perspective, as someone who's done a little bit more Vue than I have, how would you approach this?
So here's my question. You're saying it's feeling heavy. I'm understanding that you are having 2 forms, 2 instances of the same form. Essentially, it sounds like a single component that maybe is getting past a couple different props, or maybe even a mode that says this is either create or edit mode or something like that.
Yeah.
What is the way that you would implement this in Blade or whatever that would feel less heavy? Is it that you would have a different page that it would be on, and so that would feel just more well organized? Is that the idea? Or because in my mind, the code that you've written is a bit unavoidable. You've got to write that regardless of if you're doing it via Blade or via Vue or really even via Livewire, right? Those forms are going to have to exist in some way. So what is the heavy that you're feeling? Kind of explain that to me a little bit.
I think the heaviness or the complexity that comes into this is because we're using shadcn, and shad has its own dialog, which has a pop over trigger and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now now we've got this other, because we're trying to render this thing on the page, it's trying to create its own properties to listen to, like, conditionally render a thing. And so I think
you're having to
two
pass
conflict
stuff
with each
through
other.
like shadcn over to this other thing. Yeah, so you're like wrapping a wrapper of a wrapper. Yeah, no, I totally feel that actually.
And it feels like, okay, this feels like I'm doing a lot to wrap the wrap of the wrapper, and maybe that's you know, maybe that is the JavaScript ways, because everything is composed, and so it's a wrapper on a function that's like figuring all this stuff out and then triggering the thing to pop up, and that's the correct way of doing it. Or maybe do I just duplicate the form and like put the form here, but also put the form inside the loop?
It's like it comes back to like that whole thing of like prop drilling is kind of what it feels like to me when you have those sort of wrapper components, right? You're like, you have a very difficult time keeping track of like at what level of abstraction am I at when I'm passing this prop in? Is this something I'm just passing in because I have to pass it to a child one? Does that child need to pass it to another child? And then how's it working its way back on the stack and all that stuff? Yeah, and I will say like that I have also felt that Flux for Livewire is very good. It's very well done. But I have also felt a little bit of that with Flux. So it's a bit of the trade-off of like, if you don't have to create your own abstractions for those and they're already created for you, you avoid all the work, but you do end up having, you carry this small additional burden of having to do it the way that the API is built. And it's like, if you're not used to it, especially if it's like your first or second time dealing with it and you're just still learning it, it does feel heavy because you're like, man, I gotta look at the freaking docs every time for this thing. Like if I built this myself, I could just pass it in this way and it's very clear to me. It's what I'm comfortable with, you know?
Yeah. And I think the shad, and I don't know if this is the shadcn, like the React docs are like this as well, but it certainly feels that the shadcn-vue docs are quite sparse in that they show the examples of how to use it, and they go, this is what it looks like. Here is the code, copy and paste it, and like now it's in your application, which is the idea of these components, right? You generate them and then they become part of your application. But it then, like, there's no documentation, there's no clear documentation on those component pages around like the appropriate way to use them. And I think that's where you kind of need to have the pre-existing knowledge of what is the correct way to compose these and how would you leverage these in this way. Because if I'm just putting a modal on a page and I'm happy with the trigger to be there, that's great. But I need that to be dynamically rendered based on, you know, there's 3 days to a conference, and each time I click edit, well, it has to put in the information from, you know, the specific day into that form when it opens. So,
yeah, boy. So how are you doing that right now? So like, are you actually making a call to the back end? Is there a way to do that? So here's the deal. I've written Vue. I've never used Inertia ever. I've like very, very briefly scratched the surface on Inertia. So I'm curious how that even works. I don't even know how that all works together.
Yeah. Well, the theory would be that you would render these things on the page and dynamically put the text in there. So, and this is the other thing which, you know, David Hemphill said, no, this is how you go about it. But I feel like because Inertia is meant to give you allow you to use the JavaScript tooling to build your application with a Laravel backend without duplicating all the routes and all of that good stuff. It still feels like it very much should be a one-to-one. Like if you go onto a page, it only has the days on it. And if you want to add, it wouldn't open in a modal. It would take you to another page, which has got a form to add. And if you wanted to edit, it would take you to a page that is edit, because that is the, you know, but this
and to be real, like I prefer that. Like I hate modals. I really don't. If I can avoid a modal at all, you know, unless there's some reason where I really need to maintain the context that I'm living in, and I must be able to get back to the exact same spot that I was at previously. In those cases, sure, fine, a modal. But it's like that's not the situation here, right? Like go edit it, take it away. And are you saying like that's not currently possible, or it's just not the way that it's?
Well, I mean, must be possible because this is how applications are built, right? But I think
for sure,
that having, you know, this event view that then has these 4 separate components that all drive their own things, you know, it means that you're not actually going to a separate page, which has got an ad form on it. You're opening it within the context, and then you are not posting to that page, right? You are posting to an API endpoint responsible for taking the store or the update. So, but I think by and large, this is how we expect applications to work now, is that like all the related stuff is kind of together. I prefer certainly to have, very focused things. If you look at Ping CRM, which is the Inertia demo application, that's how it's built. It's built where you go to a list of things. You can filter that list, sure, but that's still an index page with a filter applied to it. If you want to add, you click add it takes you to another page that's got a form.
Different
and when
page.
you save that, it redirects you back to the list. If you click edit, it takes you to another page to edit. That all totally makes sense to me, because that's what you're doing.
Fair.
But I think in this like SPA-like world where everything's on the page and everything's like modals and things, I think it doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah.
And like maybe it would be easier for me if I just split this all up so that there is an edit and an update and all of these things are discrete, and then you're redirecting and coming back. But I don't think it, like, maybe that makes more sense. Maybe Mitch will tell me. He'll reach out to me after he hears this and he'll be like, "What are you doing?"
No, I get what you're saying, which is that like the challenges of being able to update a list from posting a modal without having to do a full page refresh or whatever. Those are difficult problems. Like
because then it means we're not exposing like the list of days, it's the event days. And so then you're reaching into the event days to then, filter that list to delete something or to append to that list to add something. And so maybe I'm just getting myself in a tiz, and it is actually like maybe the way that I'm doing it is complex, and there is a simpler way of doing what I'm trying to achieve with the 4 separate things on a page. Or maybe I'm overcomplicating it, and it can just be like click add and it takes you to another page to add it, and then it takes you back. Like,
well, it certainly is possible. Like, so here's the deal. Like, some of it is likely like your architectural preference and kind of like what you're used to dealing with and how you like to separate and break things up in your mind. And that's totally fair. And that's just a developer like preference thing. And I'm with you. Like, I am in that world as well. However, I will say there are instances where it's very important to maintain that context. So we do have a particular location in our applications. We call it terminal, but you're looking at a single claim instance, and it has all the information that you need to do your work on that thing. And there'll be times where within that large context of information, there's a panel, and you can see the data about that panel, but then you need to be able to edit that value. That's like number 5 down.
Yeah.
Well, that panel, if you click the top right corner of it, it has an edit, and it'll do a slide over. That slide over comes over, and it's got all those fields in there, right? And so,
but is that a redirect? Like, are you going to a new page when that slides over? Like, does it update the address bar?
It does not. Well, that's a good question. I don't know if it actually updates the address bar or not, but this is using Livewire, and it's using Filament. Yeah. And so the slide over comes over, and I will tell you kind of how we're doing it right now, which is like sometimes like refreshing the page is unavoidable. You know what I mean? Like for us, that's how we end up doing it. Like, because it's like, okay, I could try and push data back and do this weird optimistic UI update. But like for me, I'm always afraid that like I missed something or like it didn't work quite right. And now they're dealing with a UI that's actually not reality. And for me, it's like, heck, I'm just going to refresh the page real quick, and it's no big deal. As long as I can maintain where they're at, and, the tab that they're in does refresh or does set the URL bar. We did that on purpose, right? But there is some weird song and dance you have to do even with Livewire. So like we do the slide over, we do the submit. The submit is going to send an API request to the back end to go do some stuff on a different server. But then we also have to update our local cached version of this stuff optimistically, which lives in a database. It's a database. And I say cache. It's not actually cache. It's a real database that we pull data from. But we go update the database that we have that we're sitting here locally. We go update the server that's sitting over somewhere else. And then we end up saying, okay, we're just going to have to refresh the page. So we refresh the page. It pulls it from that new updated dash, that cache database, and then basically says, okay, now we have a fresh version. But like to do that sort of stuff that you're talking about, which is like to feed back to the front end of the UI without having to do a full page refresh, or if inertia isn't magically helping to handle some of that stuff. Yeah, I have no idea, dude. Those are complicated problems to solve.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just, I always am uneasy about that. And again, maybe that's just the old man in me speaking, but I don't know. I'm not sure if inertia has like, can you say like this panel is tied to this specific API response or this specific controller? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if that's the only thing that needs to refresh, just refresh that, and it kind of goes and pulls a JSON resource and repopulates itself without refreshing the whole page. I don't know. That'd be really awesome if it did.
Yeah. Like, am I using use form in this context, or is that only really intended for
actual one page form? Yeah.
And realistically, what I should be using here is an Axios or a fetch request or whatever that just sends the data, gets the 200 back or whatever, and then it then goes, all right, good, we're gonna add this label and this ID into the array of things, and then they will just update, and then we'll close the modal. Like, is that? I mean,
I suppose the other thing you could do, Michael, as well is like and I don't know if your front end components could do this, but like, you could also just say, hey, front end component, listen to events of this type. And you could just have like, pusher or reverb or something set up. Like, and then when it gets that, you could just payload,
do this. And like Laravel is batteries included and Inertia does support all it, but does it like, to me, this sounds crazy. Look at all of these extra things that you're now spinning up and doing to build this app. Like, I understand that this is like modern and this is the expectation of lots of users that, web applications will behave in a certain way and that they want things to update in real time. We don't want to see, but how much of that is users and how much of that is,
developers? Like, do the users actually care if the page refreshes? As long as it's pretty quick, they probably don't care.
Yeah. I know that there's all kinds of research that goes on, like, if it's more than 300 milliseconds, people feel that it's slow. It's like, yeah, but like where I work, our thing is quite fast, and our team is extremely talented, and they've built this incredible front end that is all React and is lightning fast. Great. But there is some expectation from the actual users, considering that we are dealing with financial institutions, that things are just going to be slow. Yeah. Lender systems are slow. They are clunky. They are like, things are going off to COBOL systems in the background. All kinds of weird stuff is happening. And like, things are just slow.
And it's like
at what point is this like us as developers, like creating this, perfect nirvana of speed and optimization and whatever else, and how much of it is just, actually users caring about it?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's fair.
Feel free to blast me in the comments on YouTube, send me tweets, DMs, whatever. Like, I would like to know, because for the longest time, I've just been like Livewire or Blade and posting to the server, and things come back, and like it all works, and it
certainly feels
fine.
simpler. It certainly feels simpler architecturally, right? I mean, I'll say that.
And
right?
like, I always poo-poo the like build step, but like Laravel V, whatever it is, like, it's fine. You just run it and things update and you never think about it. Like, the build step is not a concern, except like in our application, which builds 4 applications and takes 3 minutes to run. But for this, it's instant. It updates, it refreshes. It's fine. I don't think compilation is the issue. I think it feels like I've got all of this stuff now, and I don't know if it's unfamiliarity or if it's like JavaScript Stockholm syndrome, where people just accept that this is the way that it's done, and it's, this is just how we do it.
Yeah.
I would like to be educated on that. I mean, tell me I'm wrong, or agree with me, or whatever, or point me at a Laracast that I should be watching.
Yeah. I think that you also do so. I think you sort of make. I'm trying to think of the word, like where you, not reconcile. Reconcile is not the word, but like you give up something, kind of regardless of which way you go.
Yeah,
I feel like with Livewire, for me, it fits my mental model better. I'm talking to the server, like this feels very like familiar to me. I feel like it's very transparent. I feel like I have a large degree of control and understanding around what's going on. at least as far as the back end is concerned. I know there's like some magic bells and whistles happening on the front end to connect the back, the front end and the back end.
That's all Caleb's problem.
But
Caleb and Josh,
that's all his problem. The stuff that I'm writing feels good, feels familiar, feels very much like, okay, like I'm talking to my back end, I'm talking to my models, I'm talking to my stuff. Feels good. Now,
fully acknowledge the fact on the other side of the coin, right? The people that write Vue all the time, that use Inertia all the time, that are used to that, they think Livewire is complicated because it doesn't fit with their mental model. Like I've had that conversation with people, and so I know that it like it's both sides of the aisle that are experiencing this.
Yeah. Now the folks that on my side are writing, so like we're writing a two-way chat interface using Livewire and Flux. Great. Has it had its challenges? Abso-freaking-lutely it has. And the challenges come not on the side of like the architecture side as far as like getting the stuff to the back end. That is the easiest part, and the best part about Livewire is it's so simple to do that. The part that's a little bit tricky is really optimistic UI updates. Those things are a bit tricky. Like if you need things on the front end to react as the things are happening on the back end, that can be a bit more tricky. Whereas I'm hearing those developers on my side say, oh man, this would be so much easier if it was in Vue. If it was in Vue, the UI would feel so much smoother. I'm like, well, maybe the UI would feel smoother, but the process to actually get everything back to the back end and all the stuff that you're just doing with you basically with your eyes closed and one hand tied behind your back with Livewire, that stuff that's insanely simple is much more difficult if you're using Vue, because you have to set up all the endpoints, you have to set up the controllers, and I know Inertia is supposed to help with some of that, but you are making those choices. And so one of my guys recently was like, I think this one just feels a lot easier with Vue, and I was able to solve this problem with Vue. And I'm like, totally get it. I remember when we solved this problem with Vue before, and then we decided we were changing to Livewire, and we got rid of everything with Vue because we didn't want to be supporting both of them at the same time. It's just kind of pick your mental model and go with it, and then you're gonna have to love it, warts and all, until you. I mean, it's just what it is. You're kind of gonna have to choose your hard, if you will.
Yeah, choose your hard.
Anything of sufficient complexity. Yeah, anything of sufficient complexity is going to end up finding the edges of the solution that you're using, and you're gonna end up running into some walls, and you just have to push through it a bit.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure if if I was shown the semantic way of doing it, or the Vue way of doing it, it would make sense, and I could. But like, I don't feel like it's discoverable at the moment, and maybe that's the complication of the box that I'm in at the moment that is making it seem that way. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up, my friend. That was a good discussion. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Excellent.
And I'm interested to kind of hear how that goes on your side. I will try and get a couple more pieces of information from my side. I would love to even show you our chat interface sometime and talk to you about some of the challenges that we have. There are some. I think by and large we've been able to solve them, but things that are like persistently on the page. Okay, like I'll give you a quick example and then I can wrap. If I have a chat that is on the left-hand side of the page, so you can imagine, like, think Facebook Messenger, you have all the different chats that are open on the left-hand side. In the center column, you have the actual conversation that you're currently highlighted, right? You click in it, and then in the middle, you have that. And then on the right-hand column, you have basically some contextual information about that conversation. Like, here's the person you're talking to, here's their profile, essentially, right? So that's what you have. On the left-hand side, I want to see a status that basically says, here's the last time that a chat was sent through on this one, right? Well, if I get a new chat that comes in, that bubble is going to say just now, like it just happened, right? But in 10 minutes, it shouldn't say just now. It should say 10 minutes ago. And then it should say 12 minutes ago, and then whatever, and then it should say an hour ago. And then after 24 hours, it should say a day ago, right? That sort of thing. And if I'm just sitting on that page and I'm not refreshing that page, how am I updating those bubbles? Am I just wire pull, like kind of going back into the back end and doing that? That feels a little bit gross, you know what I mean? Yeah, you'd use JavaScript for that. Exactly. So it's like, okay, well, now you're mixing Livewire with Alpine, and Alpine and Livewire work together great, and that's fine. But now it's like, where's the logic? Where is that happening at? You know? So there are things like that where you just have to consider. And I'm also really interested in this idea of Beam. I think is what it's called, Beam. the guy who created it is going to be talking about it at Wire Live, which we're sending one of our developers, Mr. Andy Hinkle, over to Wire Live. And so hoping he'll come back with some cool solutions, talk to Caleb and talk to some of the folks over there, and on the hack and hang day, and talk through some of that stuff and see what we come back with. So excited to hear about that. Maybe I'll be able to report that back in a couple weeks. So
yeah, that's coming up soon, isn't it? Everything's happening soon.
It is the 28th and the 29th of this month. So should be a fun one. I will not be able to attend because I will be at a conference in California instead of Wire Live, which really sucks. But I might have to. I think you and I need to lobby Caleb and just figure out how we can get one of those T-shirts.
Yeah,
that's what we really need.
I won't be able to attend because it's a very long way away.
Yes, it is. But we still need T-shirts, right? I mean, come on. How can you not have the T-shirt?
Please.
That's pretty awesome.
I got an email today from our government travel thing that says the US government shut down on the 1st of October and it may impact travel to and from the United States. I'm like, yeah, there's no air traffic controllers at the moment, is there?
Dude, I don't know. All I know is that I looked at my electric bill this month and it was double what it was last month for some reason. I don't know. Illinois electricity prices went up. I don't know. It's crazy, dude. I don't have time. It's I kind of just got to let those people figure that crap out, and I can complain about it when I have some public forum to do so. But other than that, it's I'm going to pay the bill, and it's what are you supposed to do? But
yeah,
I don't know, man.
We used to get those every now and then because they would do an estimate. I couldn't get to your meter. It's on the outside of the house. There's no fence.
Yeah.
You can just get to it.
Exactly.
Now we've got digital meters that are read remotely and
nice. Yeah, they do that
on 5-minute increments, which is great because you can see.
You remember they used to. That is nice. Do you remember they used to come around and people would walk around and they would come to your house and read the meter reader? I remember we used to have we would literally just have some random dude walking through my backyard going to my, what is this dude doing in my yard? Yeah. This is so bizarre.
Yeah.
All right,
now
folks.
It's all digitally read remotely. It's fantastic.
It is. They just drive by. Yeah.
No, I don't even do that. It's all done over 4G.
No, it's just on the 4G. Hey, that makes sense too. But even better. Yeah. Even better.
Just phone time.
Absolutely. Episode 184, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. Check out show notes at northmeetsouth.audio/184. If you have any questions or comments, hit us up on Twitter or on X or on Blue Sky, wherever you decide to leave those. On YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. And if you really liked the podcast, we would appreciate it if you'd rate it up in your podcatcher of choice. 4 stars would be great. 5 stars would be even better. Feel free to leave those. Folks, until next time, choose your hard. We will see ya.